If you're watching this, you probably know that Salesforce is a very lucrative career path. Whether you're a contractor, a consultant, or simply a W-2 employee, there is plenty of money to be made as a Salesforce professional. But exactly how much can you expect to be paid when working in different types of jobs? It depends on experience, it depends on certifications, and it depends on how you market yourself and what location you're in. So today we're going to dive in, we're going to talk about some of those differences, and we're going to let you know what you should expect to get paid as a Salesforce professional. Let's get started. I want to give credit where credit is due, and Salesforce Men is a great resource to stay up to date with current information in the Salesforce ecosystem. So if you're not aware of Salesforce Men, that's a great website to check out if you're interested in being more informed about what's going on with Salesforce. Salesforce Ben has already taken the time to compile a lot of the salary and pay expectation information for Salesforce in general. So we're going to be going through some articles that they have already put together, and we're going to talk through some of the details there, and I'll shed some additional information on the information we see there. So let's take a look over here. So the first thing we're looking at are the average Salesforce salaries in 2020. Now, I'll let you guys take a look at the numbers and I'll sort of explain how this reads. Also, anything we look at today, the links are in the description of the video. So if you want to jump over and take a look at that information, you can click right over and scroll through this yourself. So the first thing I'll point out is that what they do here is they break this down by job role. And the large number you're going to see in bold here is a senior resource. And then the smaller number is a junior resource. And then they're broken up by effectively the United States and the United Kingdom. So that's for this page. We are going to talk a little bit about other locales. So just hang on for a moment and we'll dive into some other areas as well. So for the Salesforce administrators, that ranges from $105,000 to $118,000 on average. Now, moving into the business analyst role, this is a bit of an upgrade technically from the administrator. So this is someone who is much better at taking business requirements from, say, sales leadership, marketing leadership, support leadership, and translating that over to actually implementing into Salesforce. So you're doing a little bit more of the translation there and understanding what the requirements are and then architecting that into a solution. For someone like an administrator, typically the business analyst plays both roles, but in bigger environments, there could be a person who just gathers requirements, solutions those out, and then hands those off to the actual Salesforce administrator or developer. Again, you can see here in the US, we're looking at junior resources at $115,000 and seniors at $131,000. Then we sort of move up another step. So now we're going into being a Salesforce consultant. And we've talked about these people in other videos, but these are people who are working for multiple companies at the same time. They're expected to be experts in really all things Salesforce. And if they're not an expert in the area, they're expected to be able to either talk with other resources or research that information and become knowledgeable rather quickly. And so these are some of the higher paid resources, looking at junior consultants at $120,000 in the US and senior resources at $141,000 in the United States. So obviously you can see we are quickly moving up in expected salary range, even though, of course, the Salesforce administrator making over $100,000 is, it's not half bad in itself. Now, coming into Salesforce development, a lot of people hear about Salesforce developers and how they're the highest paid and most in demand. Entry-level Salesforce developers right at $130,000 in the United States, and then senior level resources looking at just over $150,000 in the United States. So you can see, and these don't necessarily have to be consultants. These can be developers on site for a specific employer, or of course remote if that's what you want to be. And again, all of these jobs are typically remote. We'll get into some of the details there, but I'll scroll back up for just a moment. Salesforce consultants are almost 100% remote. And business analysts and administrators can either choose to be remote or on site, depending on what they have worked out with their W-2 employer. Now, moving back down to project managers, this is a little bit different role. Typically, you will see this within consulting companies where the project manager is actually the escalation point if anything's going wrong in the project. They keep up with how many hours are allocated to different tasks. They make sure that everyone's staying on track, getting their jobs done, and everything's meshing well to for a particular date that things need to be done so that they can go live. They're really orchestrating the overall project and keeping those administrators and developers in check to make sure that everything's flowing smoothly. And the highest that we go here is a technical architect. So this is someone who is an extremely advanced developer. You can see here it says referred to as the 1%. And they will understand everything from all of the previous job types we looked at. Everything from advanced development, probably have skills in developing on other platforms as well. They're probably very familiar with other technologies that integrate with Salesforce, definitely familiar with things like migration tools and integration tools that sit in between Salesforce and other databases, and they're likely familiar with ERP systems and other major platforms that integrate with Salesforce. So you're looking at senior level in the United States at 163,000. They don't have a junior level mentioned here, which makes sense to me. I'm a little surprised we see junior level in the UK because this type of resource likely doesn't really have a junior level. Because just to be a technical architect sort of insinuates that you are a extremely senior resource in and of itself. So those are really the high level information about this, about these. And you may notice, hey, these look a little high for a junior level Salesforce administrator. And I absolutely agree with that. I think that maybe these are averages across the board. What may have been considered a junior role or a senior role may be a bit of a gray area. But I would say these are very reasonable expectations once you're in Salesforce and you're actually an administrator for a couple of years. These are fairly reasonable. However, if you're thinking of a junior resource as someone who just got a certification and they're landing their first job, you're not going to make $105,000. So they may be considering a junior resource, anyone with, say, under 3 or 4 years experience, and that might be a better average there. So thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel, and enjoy the Salesforce journey.